Assalamu alaikum everyone, Internchange right here. We're at the event in Waltham Stone talking about illuminating the darkness, and we're going to have the author, we're going to have a little quick interview, but earlier he was just discussing about the book. He was talking about key points that why did he write it, and after the incidents that happened to him which made him realize, subhanAllah, this needs to be covered. So inshallah, we're going to get into it right about now. So let's just grab the brother. Habeeb Akande, mashallah, mashallah, is very knowledgeable brother. Inshallah, we're gonna get it down to business. Okay, bismillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Habeeb Akande, mashallah, you're the author of Illuminating the Darkness, and basically what we've got going on is for Black History Month. We've got obviously, and what we have is an idea which is going to be Black History Month, the real story, because every time we hear about it, it's always based on the slavery and how people take certain individuals, Martin Luther King and so on, but because it's from Africa, they don't know Africa was Muslim. So what we're trying to come with is a Muslim narrative to that agenda, and obviously the book you wrote ties in with this. So I just had a couple of questions. One of them would be, what inspired you to write the book in the first place?
A number of things inspired me, but one of the main things is, like you mentioned, it's not really spoken about. When we talk about Black History Month, we always hear about great figures like Martin Luther King and even like Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks and what have you, but we never really hear about great Black Muslims. Obviously being a Muslim and also being Black. I know that a lot of Black people have contributed not only to Islamic history, but world history. So I think when we hear about Black History Month, we need to hear about the figures from all sorts, so Christians, Jews and Muslims as well, because they contribute a lot to world history.
And you mentioned some incidents that happened to you in Egypt. I was just wondering, like, for the viewers, can you mention some other ones that maybe that, I thought like inspired you?
Some of the incidents
that you came across that shocked you,
Okay, that shocked me. The story of what time is it, where some Egyptians will say, what time is it, Kamsa'a, in Arabic. But they'll say Kamsa'a, Kamsa'a. And when you look at your hand to see what time it is, they'll start laughing before you tell them what time it is. And after a while, I spoke to a few other people. They experienced the same thing, because I was baffled, like, why were they doing this? And the reason why they'll say this is because when they're asking what time is it, and then you look at your wrist, you're reminded, and you see your skin complexion, you're reminding yourself that you're Black, so they find this amusing. So that was one of the incidents, apart from, as well as others, which we can talk about. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all Egyptians are
definitely,
racist,
exactly,
there is an issue where people of a darker complexion or Black people are seen as somewhat inferior or ugly than other complexions, which I kind of wanted to talk about and address. And
you see this book, did you compile it on your own? Because there's a lot of information, and I just thought like maybe you got to a group of different people.
No. Alhamdulillah, I mean, it was all myself, obviously.
MashaAllah.
I had tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it was all myself. It was a lot of self-study, a lot of locking myself away in my bedroom and doing a lot of research and reading and going to libraries and no TV and no football for a number of years, about 3 years. But I was just very passionate about, because I knew this was an important topic and something that just speaking to people were interested in. But I couldn't really find a book that talks about a lot of these issues. So I wanted to kind of compile from a lot of the works of a lot of scholars, as well as in my own research, to kind of talk about issues that I know that I think people would be interested in.
One thing that fascinated me, which kind of shocked me, is that you mentioned a bit about how it creeped into some certain scholars referencing certain things. Like, if you could just mention it, because that shocked me a lot. Wow, I didn't know, like...
it did shock me as well when I read it. I remember the first time when I was in I think this was a high school, and I can't remember which particular scholar, but they were talking about black people are just naturally subservient, and I want them to be subservient. This was a great muhaddith, that's a hadith specialist, and also to commentate on the Quran as well. And then I noticed that he would narrate the Curse of Ham story and use that as justification to justify why Black people are naturally subservient to white people and Arabs, and why they're naturally inferior. And of course we know and the reason why it shocks me, because I know from Islam, racial equality Islam teaches, but even great scholars had this understanding, or had some of these racist beliefs, and that's why when I kind of read things like that, that's why I kind of realised, okay, now I'm beginning to understand why some of the common people have got these perceptions about Black people. Because to me it was quite shocking, because I understand racism amongst non-Muslims, because from an Islamic perspective I'll say that they're ignorant, they don't know about the guidance of Islam. But from Muslims who've got the guidance of Islam from the Quran and the Hadith, it was quite shocking to me. But again, people are products of their environment, and unfortunately some scholars, you know, they were products of their environment, and if they were living in a society which taught these type of things, they'll naturally internalize it, and they will teach it in some of their teachings in their books and things like that.
As you mentioned, but then there was other scholars that refused the claim. Alhamdulillah,
And that's what I did try to show.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There was many scholars who spoke out against it and said that this is not from Islam. The same way, which I mentioned earlier in the talk, that there's some men who feel that they're superior to women and oppress women. From Islamic perspective, you know, oppression is wrong, whether you're a man or woman, black or white. But yet it still goes on, and a lot of men are silent about it. So just because a knowledgeable person or a quote-unquote practicing or good Muslim does some bad things, it doesn't mean, number one, that it's from the religion, and doesn't mean because the person is a religious person, he can't do bad things. So it's just about, as people, we need to educate ourselves and know the difference between what the religion teaches ultimately, and then obviously what the practice of a human being, so then we won't be affected by it.
But the thing is, why is it not being taught? Like, no one's talking about
Good
this.
Question. Very good question. I do not know. I mean, again, one of the...
Have you tried to reach out to...
Yes, I have. I mean, again, that's another one of the inspirations why I wanted to write this book, because I was waiting, like a lot of people, for scholars and da'is and knowledgeable people and things like that to talk about it, but no one was addressing it. But when I speak to individual people, they'll talk about this issue. But it's like we're all suffering silently.
Silently, definitely.
And again, we'll talk about a lot of issues that's going on in the Muslim community, but the race issue and the issue of colorism, which is discrimination amongst people within the same race, so like fair-skinned people discriminate against dark-skinned people, and dark-skinned people discriminate against fair-skinned people.
Yeah, it's a lot,
it's
big issue right now.
It's a big issue in the Muslim community, but we don't want to talk about it. And we like to talk about the issues that's going on outside the Muslim community. But again, why it's not spoken about, I do not know. You
see, it's not just for Africans or blacks, because then I think you tie it in with the Asians as well, how it mixed in. And the thing is, if you could explain, like, why is this that, like, you know, the Asians, like the brother said, the real challenge is when you want to marry their daughters. That's when the line is drawn. You're my brother, but then you want to marry my daughter. But I don't get how come the Asians here.
Again, that's the issue of colorism. I mean, we're all brothers and sisters until it comes to, like one of my friends said, we're all brothers and sisters until it comes to money and marriage.
SubhanAllah.
So when it comes to let's do business together, we're brothers, but we're not that type of brothers. When it comes to marriage, we're brothers, but you're not the type of brother I want. So it's a form of hypocrisy, if I'm honest. I mean, and again, that's something, the way I see it, especially as Muslims, we've got no excuse because we've got the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I find it quite astonishing that Muslims have got some of these, they hold some of these beliefs, but it's upon us that to do as much as we can to try and educate people, because some people are not aware of it, and they've been brought up with some of these beliefs that it's just like it's in their subconsciousness. So it's a thing of, we need to obviously educate people and give examples, because if I were to just say, even in compiling the book, that there's some Muslims who've done bad things in history, and not really gave examples or names, people would have not really paid took too much notice of it. But by giving names of certain scholars that are well respected, and talking about some of the things unfortunately they've said, then people are quite alarmed by it, because they're like, well, I never knew such and such a person could say that. And I'm not trying to disparage the scholars, I'm just trying to let people know that people are products of their environment. And
this
if it can happen to people who are very knowledgeable and who are very pious, it can happen to anyone. Because a lot of times we like to say it's only ignorant people that have got these beliefs or hold these kind of views, which is incorrect.
Just a quick change. So what's your view on Nation of Islam then?
What is my view on that? May Allah guide them to Islam. That's my view. May Allah guide them to Islam.
Okay, inshallah. And as for those who are on this, because like you said earlier, you don't want to give this view that this is just like some black supremacy kind of book. Exactly.
I mean, even that's probably a continuation from your previous question. What's my view on Nation of Islam? I mean, it's obviously from an Islamic point of view, from a theological point of view, what they're teaching about black supremacy is not in conformity with the teaching of Islam. So I do not accept it, but I can understand
where the issue
where they came from and what they're trying to do. And there is a lot of good in what they're doing, but in terms of from a theological point of view, I don't agree with white supremacy, nor do I agree with black supremacy. But I can understand how it came about, but it doesn't make it right. But inshallah, Allah, they're doing some good and they're helping the black community. And I just pray that Allah guides them to Islam, because ultimately real success comes from our perspective, from Islam.
At the moment, is a lot of like I could say like identity crisis at the moment. You know, especially for not just blacks, but Muslims in general, you know,
Yes.
from their country, but then they want to be Muslims, and you know, like what could this book like provide for them, inshallah, you know?
Hopefully to motivate and inspire people that,
Definitely.
especially people, you know, black people, people of African descent, like North Africans or Berbers, or even dark-skinned people like Asians, even fair-skinned Asians, just to inspire them that they can be successful not only in this world but ultimately in hereafter, inshallah, and to achieve great things. Because, and we do need to see role models. If you're, I mean, this might be quite not controversial to say, but even when we're seeing black Muslims, we only get in one picture. We're only seeing black Muslims, or even the same way black people in general, only in the form of entertainment and sports.
No, definitely.
Like, as if that's the only thing we can.
Definitely.
And there's nothing wrong with entertainment, there's nothing wrong with sports, but I'm saying that we need to have other role models so people can aspire to do other things. So that's something which I think is important. So even black people themselves, when they're thinking about doing something and they want to be successful, they don't only tie it to being an entertainer or a sports person. Because I think so we need to see more role models, more black people in business as well.
Definitely.
Because at the end of the day, money is power. And not to say that, of course, ultimately, all power is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, we know that. But at the same time, money is important. And one of the things that, even from an Islamic perspective, people forget is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first thing he did when he went to Medina, after he set up, after he established the masjid, the first thing he asked people is, where is the marketplace? And the people, the Muslims said at the time that they told him where it was and said the Jews own it. Then he said that we have to have our own marketplace. You need to be financially self-sufficient, and it's something that, unfortunately, with a lot of, I think, black people or people that's disadvantaged because we've got no financial power. That's why we do certain things to appease other people, because you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So I think it's about being proactive, and I'm not saying we should just have black business and black owned. No, but have teaching young black boys the importance of business and being ambitious and trying to make your own money, of course in a halal way, and obviously teach them education so they have self-belief and they can achieve great things. I think that's very important, because we don't see enough of that within the Muslim community and the black community as a whole.
And I like the chapter you mentioned in there, which goes through that different prophets that were, and then afterwards companions, because many and others and kings and so on.
Many people aren't aware of it, like Luqman alayhi salam.
Exactly.
I mean, some scholars say he was a prophet, some say he was a righteous person. Whether he was a prophet or not, he's mentioned in the Quran. Allah, we know him for his wisdom, and that's something that, you know, the advice that he gave to his son is something that books and many books be written, not because he's black, because of what he said.
Definitely.
So again, just to kind of inspire people, just to know that there was many great people who
and
were
companions as well.
Companions as well.
A funny incident happened. I was in France, and this brother, you know, was at this table, and then this brother comes up. He doesn't know my name. He goes, "Oh, mashallah, Bilal." And I was like, I didn't take it as offensive, but I understand where it's coming from. But it was just like, you know, I understand what you meant.
Education, because some people, they think that the only companion was Bilal.
Subhanallah.
It's just about educating people to know there was other companions who were black, and there was obviously even companions who were white as well.
So, as a community, Muslim community going forward, what is the solution you would say, like, as a Muslim community, to get this disease out from our hearts?
The disease of racism?
This which is hidden.
Education, and to be quite courageous in the sense where you can be educated, you know something's wrong, but you don't do anything about it. So you have to be quite courageous and know that, inshallah, if you want to do something positive or do something that inshallah is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's going to test you. And that's something that you need to mentally prepare yourself. So once you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to test you, inshallah, the trials and tribulations that you face, you just see it as a challenge, and something that you need to overcome, not as something that, I can't do this, I can't do that. Because a lot of, and again, that's an identical crisis, not only amongst black people, but Muslims in general. So we need to be quite courageous and read about the people of the past and see what they went through. Because when you compare, even though yes, we're in a bad state, when you look at it, when you read history, it was much worse. And we still overcome and achieve great things. So that's why I think history is important to learn from it, but then also to inspire us that if they went through all of this and they were human beings like us, we can achieve some form of greatness, inshallah, in this world and the next, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. I think we'll wrap it on that, Prophet, then, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, brother.